everyone grab a seat, grab a drink, grab some food before we begin.
I thought it was my joke.
Hello everyone and welcome to Haymarket HQ. We're very excited to have David here with us tonight. A little intro about Haymarket HQ. My name is Lauren and I'm the Operations and Community Manager for Haymarket HQ. So we are the first startup hub in Australia that helps support startups grow into Asia. So our goal is to help these startups make that first step to go global from here. So we do that by providing a co-working space, a desk, a group of like-minded community mentors, and introduce them to investors as well if there's some, and then we run events like these. So another thing that we've started doing is hosting a podcast with Gemma. So has anyone heard of the podcast Foods and Ventures? I mean, one person. Two, great. So our first podcast was with David, and today is like kind of a follow-up to that. So I'd suggest after this event, kind of like go to our website and listen to the first podcast, or follow Gemma's at Hutongvi. Yeah, is that correct?
On Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah, on Twitter, and then all the links to the podcast will be there. So you'll hear our first episode with David, which is really good. I recommend you all listen to it. So thank you everyone for coming in, and I'm handing it over to Terry from Sydney EduTech.
Some of you here are from the Sydney EduTech group, which is about 1,200 strong. But thank you for coming. And I'm I'm the venture capitalist resident at Haymarket HQ, and I've got sort of an intersection between EduTech and venture capital in China. And it's very good to see Dave here today also at that intersection. So thanks.
And Gemma is now going to take over.
Thanks, Lauren. Thank you, Terry. Welcome to our first live event for Hutong Ventures. So it's a bit about myself. So Hutong Ventures is actually a side project I have. My full-time job is I run an education startup company, which is in fact where I met Dave, because we work with schools in Holhoch in Inner Mongolia, which is where Dave's based. So I had the fortune of meeting with Dave and discussing actual business with him before the podcast, and when the podcast came along, he was absolutely the right first interviewee, given his Australian background in a place that is regional, that is not a non-tier 1 city. Yeah, so I guess the purpose of the podcast is really to help to interview investors and founders in China and help foreign startups and anyone who's interested to enter the China market to understand insights and also get some real tangible advice and stories and anecdotes about operating China market. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Dave to start with maybe just a bit about your background and how you ended up in China and in Holhoch of all places.
G'day guys, so I'm David. I've been in China for about almost 8 years now. It's a very long time. Normally people would end up in cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, you know, the big cities, right? I ended up in Inner Mongolia, from all places, and I'll just tell you a bit of background about myself. So I was brought up in the western suburbs in Sydney. Have you guys ever heard of Auburn? That's where you get the best kebabs. Are we in all agreement with that? Yeah? So my dad's Turkish, my mum's Italian. My mum's ancestry goes all the way to some, I don't even know. They change the story every time I ask them. Mum, where are you from? I don't know. You know, it's like, how did you meet Dad? Online. Did you have internet then? No, on a line. I said, it's very different, you know. So I grew up, you know, I'm not very politically correct. Jimmy said I'm going to be screwed in Australia. He said, you'll have any at all, you know. And I was like, I grew up in a woke family, so families like, you can't say that, but I can, right? I grew up in a family where my dad would remind me every day how much money he had when he came to Australia. And I don't know, does anyone have parents like that? I don't know. And my dad would say, you know, I come to Australia, only $2. But the story would change every time. He went from $2 to $100. And I don't know what happened. And so I grew up in a family where entrepreneurship is very important. You know, you've got to make money for yourself and whatnot. So my dad has a bunch of kebab shops in Sydney. I'm not joking, he does. At Sydney Airport, domestic and international, there's a shop called Sahara, you know. We've got a whole lot of it in Sydney, that belongs to my family, right? And so I grew up thinking like, you have to make it on your own, you know. So I went to uni, went to Sydney U. Do we have anyone from Sydney University here? Yes, no? My people, yes. Very good, yes. And then, so I went there, and then after I graduated, I worked for a lot of, you know, different companies, you know, IT companies, but I never did what I studied. I studied computer science law, and I ended up doing sales. I'm a salesperson, right? I like to sell. I don't like to make things up or bullshit in other ways, but I'm not that kind of salesperson. I'm very in your face, very direct. You like it? Yes, you don't, piss off, you know? Very much like the companies love hiring me because no one else wants to do that job, you know? I do it very well, and I think I still do it very well. Why did I end up in Inner Mongolia? I lost my driver's license a while ago. Not from anything bad, just a whole lot of demerit points being flown away. I don't know who took them, don't really know, but they ended up gone, and then I lost my license. And then I said, oh crap, in Sydney, what can you do without a driving license? What could you do? Nothing, right? Do you like the public transport system about 10 years ago in Sydney? Not really, right? So I said, why don't I go and travel a bit? So I ended up moving around Asia a bit, going here and there, and ended up in Dombey. Do you guys know what Dombey is? Anyone? Dombey is the northeastern part of China, okay? It's really cold. In winter it goes down to about -40, okay? So if you're drunk, don't go and piss on the street. You end up in an emergency, okay? I'm not joking, mate. They have to break that shit off, okay? Anyway, so guys, if you expected PG-13, you're wrong. Okay? There's only one exit, alright? So, yeah, I ended up there, and then they told me I'd end up working in a place called Dalian, right? And I said, that'd be cool. Then they picked me up at the airport, and they said, no, we're not going to take you to Dalian anymore. We're going to end up putting you in Inner Mongolia. You know, I don't know how the hell it changed at the airport. Anyway, so long story short, I ended up in the capital of Inner Mongolia, which is called Huhad. I started up my company there, which was a small language school. It grew to something much larger today, which we'll discuss later. And yeah, hence why I'm back here. Yeah, that's it. Hope it didn't bore the shit out of you, but yeah.
and for those who haven't listened to the podcast, maybe Dave, then go through how you became, you know, an unknown foreigner in the whole gosh of all places, to someone who's in the top three, one of the top three KOLs. So KOLs is a key online opinion leader, a key opinion leader, or online influencers, as we call them in Australia, with over 8 million followers across the various platforms. How did you go from that quantum leap?
It is a quantum leap. It was. I was a stand-up comedian before. I'm not shitting you. I really was. I wasn't really funny. I did a lot of shows. My parents. I've got a Jewish background, so it's yeah. Jews are really funny because we've got big noses and hair is free. I know that, but another point being is that that my parents thought it wasn't good face value for the family, you know. So they said you shouldn't do that. So I came off it. She's laughing her ass off. At least I got one. So yeah, no, I was doing stand-up before, so I have that kind of, you know, not really give a shit kind of feeling, like I'm not really, don't care how you feel about me, but I'm going to keep talking anyway kind of thing. You can feel that right now, right? But yeah, so with that in me, when I was in China, I used a lot of comedy to teach students because Chinese education is very, very stressful. You can ask any Chinese person that did something called the Gaokao, okay? It is really terrible, okay? It is a hell. Like, it's a HSC. Is it still called HSC? No.
Yeah, I think
it is, right?
New South Wales is.
Okay, so what are you trying to say in New South Wales?
Well, Victoria, where I'm from, is BCE.
That's okay, okay. Well, Gaokao is the high school examination. It's really difficult. Students are really, it's so sad. A lot of students commit suicide from that crap, you know. It's really terrible. And so I know that. In the back of my mind, I know. So when I'm teaching these kids, I try to use some kind of like humor, some kind of funny thing, you know. And so over time, I built up this thing in my mind with all these stories, right? And one of them was, I'm about to get into why. Okay, just relax. I know, she's really pissed. Just like, and it's like, there was these two really tall, big guys in Inner Mongolia. They came up to me, and they came to my office, and they shut the door behind them. And I was really worried, like I was shitting myself, you know. I was like, what's going on? And then they said, David, we want to invite you to our house. We want to play with you. I said, what? What do you mean, man? I don't want to play with you, dude. I'm like, no. He said, no, not play. I said, no. I said, what? And then basically they're trying to say hang out. Because when you bar, right? Bro, 哥们儿来我家，我想跟你一起玩。Bar 个屁呀 it's not a bar. It's not a bar, it's a freaking hangout, okay? Hangouts, right guys? So it's but I made a video about this topic, so I went from like 58 followers overnight to 120,000 with that video. I was shitting myself because in China, they have Char 1. Do you guys know? 1 is a symbol for the hundreds of thousands, right? So the next morning I woke up, I said, oh shit, I lost fans. I went from 58 to 12 because I have 1, 2, and 1, right? I was like, oh shit, that's 120,000, what? And then it just grew from there, so yeah. It's true. What?
and I guess then, and from that, you know, you sort of continued onwards, and now we've made 8 million followers across the various platforms.
Yeah.
But what are your demographics? What are your followers like? You know, if you were to draw a profile, a typical profile of followers, what are they like, and what content do they like?
Yeah. So China's really big, right? So you got a friend of mine. Her name's Papi Zhang. And she's got the whole country in her pocket online. She's the god of Weibo, you know? And we're all like, oh, you know, when we see her. Like, Papi comes with like a shining light through the window, and it's like, yeah. So people like her have every follower following her, right? Because she's Chinese, she speaks English, she's from the south of China, so it's like different to me. I'm a foreigner, I speak English and really shitty Chinese, which means my followers are either students, right? People are interested in English and don't hate foreigners so much, you know? Because every country has, you know, a bunch of people, you know, like the pulling hands and all that shit. But anyway, let's not get into politics. My point is, yeah, I told you I'm not politically correct. I really don't give a shit. I'm going back to China in 2 days, so it's all good. You can hunt me down, I won't be here. So yeah, my followers are usually 18 to 25. That's about 70% of my followers, and that's on Weibo. So if you go to things like Ichibo is a live platform. I've got over 1.8 million followers on there. They're usually like, not millennials, but probably like 20 to 30. And then QQ is all millennials. QQ, do you all know QQ? Yeah, so that's one of the biggest platforms there. So it varies, but the majority of the demographics are 18 to 25.
And what sort of content do your followers like? You know, and is it different across different platforms? Is Weibo different to QQ, different to the live streaming platforms?
Yeah, so the users are very fussy on Weibo. You know why? Because do you guys have Weibo? No? Yeah? If you do, it's very easy to unfollow someone, isn't it? At the bottom of the page, there's a follow button, and you can just say gun, dung, and you press it, okay? By the way, gun means please go away, okay? If you don't know, it just says please go away. And so, but things like, so if your content on Weibo has to be really, really good, right? But then you've got things like WeChat. It's really difficult to unfollow someone on WeChat. So it is, because you scan, you subscribe. If you want to unfollow them, you've got to press that little half-person thing on the top right. Then you've got to find something. It's really difficult, right? So it's good to be hot on WeChat, because people can't tell you to gun, you know what I mean? Yeah, and basically the content for me is all education driven. So it's got to be about learning English, some funny things I learned in China, like things like that, yeah. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, that's fine. I think that's the point.
I had some energy drink that hey man, it's working.
And in terms of, I think a lot of people here might be interested in sort of, you selling to China or growing their own user base on these various platforms. Which platforms do you think are useful for actually transactions? Which ones are good for brand building? Or are they all the same?
No, they're not all the same. They're very different. I think if you want to get online in China, you've got to start from somewhere like Weibo. Weibo is like a big ocean. It's got a bit of everything. You look worried.
That's fine.
She's like, no, Weibo is like, so for example, if you want to get a lot of followers in China, you've got to start somewhere, right? You can't just go and say, I'm going to do a bit of everything. You've got to go find out what's hot topic-wise, what's going on in mainland, right? Then you've got to realize that Chinese people, they are very patriotic. So you've got to be very careful about things that you talk about. You can't say Australia's the best. They're going to tell you to piss off, right? They will literally tell you that. You look at the camera, there will be a bunch of people telling you to go away, right? So you've got to find topics that are relevant to the time. And things that are talked about from 3 or 4 days ago are considered very, very old online, you know? So if there's a hot topic now, you've got to get on it right away. Now that's Weibo, but that is not the most stable platform. WeChat is the most stable platform in all of China. So if you want to get onto WeChat, you've got to first build a base of followers on Weibo. Then you convert those followers into WeChat followers. They stick for life. They don't go away. Yeah.
And why do you think, by stable, do you mean it has the most sticky followers?
Yeah, that's right. So they don't unfollow you so easily.
Because it's so hard to unfollow, right?
Exactly, yeah. It's physically hard.
You're stuck, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether you like it or not.
It's true, yeah.
And can you give, I guess, anecdotes and examples of, because I know you've worked with many brands, foreign brands like Volvo, down to, domestic local Chinese brands. And I think you also worked with Huggies, like selling nappies.
Yeah, my daughter now is one of the spokesmen, like babies for Huggies China. It's really cool. Yeah.
So can you give examples of brands that you've worked with and where it's worked quite well, and why? Like down to the frequency of posting, the particular formats that work well on certain platforms. Obviously for Meipay or Weibo, it's video, right? Or live stream. But for Weibo and WeChat, there are different formats. The posting frequency on Weibo might be different on WeChat, including down to like the timing, 8 p.m. or was it midnight, or was it 10 a.m. in the morning?
Yeah.
So can you give examples of that? So I guess for the audience, they have something to...
A complete understanding.
Exactly.
Sure.
If they were to implement these techniques, they can follow those advice as well.
Sure. So starting from the first thing you mentioned, were the brands I've worked with, the most successful ones are Bose speakers. Bose, because it targets the right demographics, so it's 18 to 25. That's like, so from a marketing point of view, you've got to market your product to the right audience, right? Some unsuccessful ones there were, like for example, Volvo was great, but they didn't get the target they wanted. They spent millions and millions of dollars in China, Chinese Volvo obviously, and they tried to get from different demographics, but the problem is, Chinese people online don't want to buy a car. So it's headphones versus a car. It's very different, right? So you've got to think of the product based on people online. People online will not go for something over 5K. It just R&B. It just won't work. Unless you're just trying to put your brand out there, like some product placement, something like that. Going forward, answering another question you asked was the timing, right?
The timing, format.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting. If your video, or is that me?
Okay, mine's turning off. It has to be.
Yes. Okay. So if for example, your video, if you want to make a video, right? If it's more than 2 minutes long, no one's going to watch it. Okay. If it's 30 seconds long, they're going to think you recorded it by accident. Yeah. So you've got to have the right time. So basically, 2 minutes to 3 minutes max. Then when you post it, it has to be at 8 p.m. because that's the hot time on Weibo, between 8 p.m. and 11:35 p.m. And I'm not shitting you, it was told, you know who told me this? The people at Weibo in Beijing. They said you should post between 8.01, okay, to 11:30, because they got the statistics, right? That's the hottest time online in China. But things like WeChat don't really have a time. WeChat can be posted anytime, but things like Weibo, any video-based, right, has to be put at a particular time. Yeah.
And with Weibo, you can do both text and video, and same for WeChat. What do you find works best? Is it always video? Is it always people looking at you, talking, something wahaha, or is it the text also works
Funny you said that. She mentioned wahaha. Do you guys know what that is?
Yeah.
Do you all know what that is? Please put your hand up if you don't know what that is. So there's a whole bunch of you, right? Wahaha is a drink. Is that me?
That's you.
Is it allergic to me or something? Okay, I'll try not to move. Wahaha is a drink that a lot of Chinese people during their childhood, they drank. It's like we would drink Move, chocolate Move when we were kids. I don't know, I did, because my dad would ban it and I'd say, no, I will drink it. And I drank it. Wahaha is a kid's drink in China, right? I brought it back. I really did. So Wahaha is actually an ad video. It was, but it wasn't meant to be so hot. It was supposed to be, would target about 100K to 200,000 views within 24 hours. We got 12 million within 7 hours. So that was a lot. Now, so if you want to create good content, you can't just make it video-based. You gotta do everyday life. You're gonna put some words, some questions. You're gonna interact with your followers because they're gonna delete your Weibo. They're gonna tell you to go away. Please go away if you don't generate content on a daily basis.
And what happens when things backfire and your followers get angry at you? What happens? You say all the good stuff.
Yeah.
So what happens when things go wrong?
It's happened to me so many times. You know that, right? And so my company, I use my Weibo platform to promote my company, right? Because it's my company, it's the advantage I have. Without that, I'm just a kebab guy, right? So with that platform, I use my school's advertising and I post it on there, try to get the right students, the right demographics. And then a lot of people say, David, you're just a foreigner come to China to make money. But they use worse words, right? And so with those kind of followers, I can't really stop them from saying that, right? But Weibo KOLs, a lot of them, they delete those comments. They do. I try not to. I try to interact with them. I try to say, look, yes, I am trying to make money. Are you going to pay my bills? Right? Am I right though? What do you want? We all have to survive, right? And so, I just go with it. I don't know. I don't really get angry at my followers though.
So you're pretty thick-skinned. It's good.
Yeah, I have to be with my dad who talks like this after 30 years in Australia. How many people do you know after 30 years in a country still has the same accent? It got worse over time. He used to have a very typical Aussie accent. Hey, Dad, son, you gotta get. What happened to him? I have to have really thick skin, Just have to,
And obviously, in getting to 8 million followers is no easy feat. So, what is it like working with your agent and with everyone around you to support you? Obviously, they're very local, domestic Chinese companies who specialise in helping you, people like yourself, getting more followers, etc. What is it like to work with them? Have you ever had any issues with that?
Yeah, so I've got an agency located in Beijing. They've got their own accounts. In total, they've got over 50 million followers in China. There's about 60 people in the company, and each KOL gets about 20, roughly, if they're top end. I get about 20, and some people get 1 or 2 guys. But they manage all my content. They manage the video, the topics, they manage what you're going to post next, what's hot now. Then when you get advertisement, they take a piece of that. Then they repost your videos onto huge accounts. It is difficult working with them because originally my content was all self-driven, and and before it was all everyday post the video, no subtitles, no title, whatever. I felt like that day, I'll give you an example. One day, you guys know the Chinese zodiac, yeah? There's 12 different animals, right? And do you guys know your own animals? Yeah, what are your animals, for example?
Rooster.
Rooster? Snake? My daughter's snake, it's really cool. Anyone else? No? So, Rooster? Dragon? Please don't release it.
Yeah.
No, so I'm year of the dog, right? So I had a student come up to me and say, David, you got a dog? I said, I'm not a dog. So things like that. And I said, oh, I'll quickly make a video. Oh, quickly. 5 minutes later, I was like, oh, where am I going to make a video? Where am I going to make a video? I was in Starbucks and I went to the toilet. And there was a back wall. I'm not joking because I can't do it in public. I feel really like, you know, weird and people are going to say, David, hey. Like, so I went to the bathroom and behind me there's like a brick wall and I made a video about that. And it's all like, you know, before it was like that. Now it's all controlled. Today, we want you to make the video here. We have to be there. People have to walk past. I miss the old school,
Yeah,
you know,
what do you
do
feel
whatever
about
you want.
that? What do you feel about that?
I really wish I could go back to just make videos of how I felt. Like I did a video the other day in a supermarket. My agency got really pissed off because I did it without them knowing. I didn't care, whatever, it's all good. And I was just walking around the supermarket and I was like showing Aussie products. Oh, I ate this when I was a kid and I had this when I was older and this, you know what I mean? But actually it's an advertisement, right? By a brand, you didn't know that. So I leaked into that, you know what I mean? So I kind of don't directly say, you should buy this. It's very good for stomach. Yes. You know, it's like, you know, oh, I got gas. You should buy this. You know, it's like lead in. So I feel like when I had my own content controlled by myself, it was better. But yeah, I try to, you know, fight the man and try to get what I want. So.
But isn't it like that spontaneity is good for your content, right? Therefore,
Yes.
good for getting
It's also
followers.
dangerous.
Right, what do you mean by that?
Because you post whatever you want when you want in a country like China, which is run by governments really strictly controlled, you could be shut down overnight. It's really dangerous, and so you can't really do that. I posted a video about the Guilin Dog Meat Festival. I effing hate that shit, okay? I hate eating dogs. Dogs are your best friend. I will never ever do that. I don't care. And I lost 30,000 followers within 2 hours, right? I'd rather lose those followers than have them on, right? But my agency was really pissed because then we had to work again to get those 30,000 back. But you know what I mean? So I shouldn't have done it because I've got to be very political there. But yeah, it was kind of a spur of the moment thing. I saw something on TV, I got really upset, and you know, yeah, stuff like that.
Great. And I think, I guess from your perspective now, you can choose what content or what brand that you advertise for, or you make, because you have enough followers, enough power, as opposed to the start where it's more like people choosing you.
Correct.
And that would be a much better position to be in. I know there are quite a few people here from EduTech, who's obviously focused on education, which is your other part of you, which is more like your actual daytime job, right? Like other stuff is on the side.
Well,
sort of thing.
a lot of newspapers they write that I do the school on the side and the KOL stuff. Actually, the KOL stuff is on the side. The school is my main focus. That's what I'd like to focus because it's more stable. You know, it is. It's my day job. And if you get rid of that, then you're with KOL, which the income is not like every day, every month. It's like, oh, when you get an ad, it's there, you know? Yeah.
Well, maybe then go through what you're doing with the school, both offline and online, and what are your plans for the future?
So I started off the school as an IELTS school. Do you guys know what IELTS is? International English Language Testing System, and I do TOEFL as well. I'm an examiner for the IELTS exam, for the writing and the speaking exam in the past. I don't do it anymore. I haven't renewed my license. It's really tiring. You have to go to many cities, go to work, do lots of exams. So originally that was the school. It had about 5 people. One of my original teachers is in the back right there, that gentleman there. Is Mike, yeah. We work together, he's been working with me for over 8 years now. From day one, he's been there. So he's one of the first teachers actually.
And where's he from? Dongbei, is it?
Dongbei, he's northeastern, inner Mongolian guy. Yeah, it's really cool. If you get a chance, speak to him, let him teach you some Mongolian swear words. You know, it's really cool, man. It's like it freaked the crap out of you, you know. Like anyway, so I started off like that, and after the KOL stuff, we'll just jump forward. After the online fame, the school just skyrocketed. You know, had from 500 students, we've taught over 8,000 students over the country. Now, till to date, that's mixed with online and offline, right? So then, when I first got popular online, we started online classes using WeChat, because you can do that, it's completely legal, you're allowed, which is really cool actually, you know. And we went on my Weibo, we said, look, we have online classes, would you like to join? We gave a very small target to the sales guys. The first month, it was crazy. Let me tell you something. The sales guy who hit that target hasn't worked in 2 months. He's been on long-term leave, you know. He's got so much commission in his pocket, it's ridiculous, you know. So my point is, like, I completely underestimated it. So now it's one of my main focuses, going online, building that business, not only on the site. So it's going to go more offline, kind of leads off a little bit, and online becomes the main focus, because that's the only way I can reach my fans.
And what do you think about, or how have your students found the online, you know, the pure online side of learning versus having that, you know, offline, face-to-face, physical interaction with the teachers?
So that's the question about the market, right? So if you're a Chinese student in Guangzhou and you have a really favorite teacher in Inner Mongolia, right? You're like me, for example. And I've got teachers from all over the country, foreign teachers, they live in mainland China. And we use them to teach those students. So the initial time we speak to the students, I have spoken to every single one of those online students. I haven't missed one, no matter where I am, what time it is. I'm like really from the ground, like I'm a running guy, you know? And so I've spoken to everyone, I've assured them, I personally will guarantee you'll get the best class. If you don't, I'll teach the class. And I will guarantee that every single time, no matter how long it takes. And that trust factor is very difficult online, okay? You cannot spend over $5,000 for a class that you really need for a company that you've never met. But that trend is going, that trend is changing, because face-to-face is just way too expensive. You know, brick and mortar business, we need them, right? But the thing is, if you go on to China now, everything's bought. Do you guys know what Meituan is? Meituan? Waimai. Have you guys heard of it? It's basically food delivery, yeah? Everything in China, on the phone, comes to your feet. If you don't present some kind of convenience to people, I don't think they're going to go for it. Because people just, I've got people in Haymarket, where I live, joining the online classes because they don't want to walk 3 kilometers to my school. I'm not joking, it's really true. So it's becoming a very, very big trend at the moment.
And how are you getting these online students? Is it through your KOL, part of that KOL side, or is it more through the offline and then converting them to online?
Well, you see, my followers are all scattered across the country. So they're all over the place. And if I was in Beijing, my offline business would be dominating, because Beijing has such a big market for education, especially in the district called Haidian district. That is where Xindongfang is. Do you guys know where Xindongfang is? If you don't know, it's a New Oriental. It's a very large company.
And it's the largest education
in the world, right?
In China.
In China, is it?
Yeah, probably the world, but
right.
At least in China.
Yeah, so it's very big. So they dominate the space, right, in Beijing. So for example, my followers are all scattered all across the country. So I don't really convert them from online to offline. It's pure online. Because geographically, they're all located in places like Shenzhen, Guangzhou, Beijing, Shanghai, Suzhou, Hangzhou. I've got heaps of students even in Xinjiang, which is the west part of China.
That's the other remote area of China.
Yeah, when people ask me where I'm from, I just say I'm from Xinjiang. And they believe me.
You actually look like
I know, because I got Turkish ancestry, you know, like the Turks, you know. You're like lettuce, tomato, onion, garlic sauce, what you like. So it just falls, you just know. You see me, you say, kebab, you know. I think when Terry met me just then, he said, oh shit, kebab.
And back to education. And
sorry, yeah. Sorry guys. Veered off again. See, it's that bloody energy drink they gave me back there, yeah.
But then how, obviously, a lot of Chinese companies, you know, big ones like Xindonghuang, like the Oriental, Tao Education, down to the smaller guys, you know, 51 to 51 Talk, they're all going to that online, moving from offline to online. I mean, 51 Talk started with online. How do you compete with them? What are your I guess, advantages compared to these much bigger guys?
Putting the KOL stuff aside, because that's one of the biggest advantages I have, right? But you can't rely on a person. If you rely on a person to run a business, the guy goes outside and gets hit by a bus, the company's gone, right? So I'm trying not to do that, but unfortunately at the beginning, initial stage, it was all reliant on me. So what we've done is we're trying to build a brand. So we're letting people know about my background, because the company founder is an IELTS examiner. So hence, therefore, the internal system is all based on the legitimacy of the IELTS exam. So that's one thing. The second thing is teacher quality. So you have to guarantee teaching quality, right?
Is it all foreign teachers?
All foreign teachers, all pure. And there are very few companies that actually have that because it's very...
We're native English speakers.
Native English speakers, we also have non-native English speakers. And, you know, we have lots of people applying for the job. I had one of my cousins apply for the job from Istanbul. I said, yeah, man, I gave him a demo class. And I said, can you tell me the ABC? A, B, C, D. I said, no, forget it. And so, yeah, it's got to be, you've got to have that competitive edge, right? But I have to admit, the KOL stuff is the main reason why people come, right? They know me from Weibo, from online. They do not, but that is not an advantage, you agree? That is a slight disadvantage. What if something happens to me? What happens to the company? So we've been in the process of building a brand. It's going very, very well. So in the past, people recognize me as, you're David, the owner of New World Language School, who has videos, right? It's trended on to, you're New World Language School guy. You know what I mean? So it's no longer David in front of New World Language School, it's New World Language School in front of David. Hence why now we're able to compete with Xindong Fang, who have tried to acquire me like 3 times last year. So many times, yeah. I'm so proud of that, yeah.
I'm glad you said no, otherwise we'll be sitting here.
No, I would not say yes, no.
Very good. And the last question before we go into Q&A is, what are your plans for the future?
Well, for the future, I'm trying to venture into building some kind of a hub to allow Australian companies to enter the Chinese market. And I've done a lot of the hard, dirty work because I've got a lot of people now trusting more Australians, you know. In the past, I'll be honest with you, 8 years ago, in Inner Mongolia, there were so many students who couldn't even identify the Australian flag. You know, I'm not making that up, it's really true. You'd ask them, where's that from? And I've had you can ask Mike, it's true. And we have to say yes, we've asked you in public. But anyway, and like, my point is like, they say, I don't know where that's from. I said, that's Australia. Isn't that England? I said, no, that's Union Jack, and I have to go back and explain it, right? So people would think in the past Australia was a large advanced farm and with kangaroos running around. I'm not joking with you, and people like, you know, the great Steve Irwin, he would set I love that guy, you know, rest in peace, but the guy, he set the idea that Australians all speak like that, you know? We don't speak like that, and so on my videos, people are like, is he Australian? Wow, why isn't he talking like this, mate? You know what I mean? No, we don't. Well, one of my uncles do, but believe it or not, just my dad loves that accent. Anyway, so my point is like, the fact that Chinese people now see Australia as something else, you know, we're up there. We're not like Australia where the Queen sent all the other guys, you know. We are Australia. We're like up front in everything. We're leading in a lot of technologies, a lot of industries, right? So now that I've set that example, and now people from Australia, I want to let them come into China. That's one thing I'm trying to do. So giving them the space on my Weibo, giving them space to hundreds and thousands of other KOLs, right? It's one thing. And actually next year I'll be moving back to Sydney. I'll be back and forward between Sydney and China. So yeah, if you guys need a kebab hand, I'm right here.
Wow, well thanks Dave. I think that was an excellent. I'm going to say like a show, right? Like, you know, without me here, just, you know, Dave's, you know, this is like the Sydney Comedy Club, I feel like.
I've performed there, actually.
So I guess now it's, I know you guys have been sitting there very well behaved for about half an hour, so I think, any questions, comments, anything you want to ask David? You can ask him anything.
Not anything. Actually, anything is okay.
Thank you, David. It's actually an anything question. So my question is, what made you start an education business apart from a kebab business?
I love that question.
Is it because you want to create a service on the cloud, technology?
Have you ever bought a kebab? Do you know how much stress goes into making that crap? You know, if we use like lettuce, tomato, onion, but there's a machine that's really hard turning and it can chop your fingers off, you know? Like, no, it's a great question. Why didn't I follow the family's business, right? And why did I just go abroad and start an education company? To be honest, I love eating kebabs from the front end. I don't like being in the inside making it, right? And it's food. It's a food business, right? So it's how do you say? It's very tiring. It's not what I was. I just wanted to do something at a larger scale. Yeah. So when you teach someone, I'll tell you something. When I've taught students from 8 years ago, they come back and they shake your hand, they give you a hug. Thank you, David. I went to the US, I graduated, I did this. It's really emotional and it's really touching. No one's going to come back and say, dude, I love that kebab so much, man. Can I have another one, dude? My kid wants to have a kebab now. I'm going to make sure the kebabs of my generation all come from you. That's not going to happen, you know what I mean? So yeah, that answers your question, right?
Any questions?
I'm wondering what was the turning point when you first started your education business? Because when you decided to start a business, maybe you just go through the up and downs.
Yes.
But I'm really curious because I also have my business idea.
Right.
But like you are kind of forming your idea, but when you really want to implement it, you have a plan. But actually, you feel like, oh, this is happening right now. This is a certain like ignite point.
I understand what you're saying. I'll tell you where the turning point happened for me, and then maybe you can apply it to yourself, right? I was working for a company called Global IELTS, right? And I was earning really good money. I was running the company for them in a couple of schools in different cities, right? And I just said to myself, you know what? I'm done. I made the plan in my head. I was waiting for the day to happen, and I quit my job, and I didn't have any plans. Okay. The next day, 12 students from one of the schools followed me, and it started from there. You know, you can plan as much as you want. Paper is paper, right? It'll never go away. You can go buy some more paper later. No worries. The problem is, it'll go away from here. Once it's hot, get into it. There's risk. If nothing has risk, nothing will be successful. Do you agree? So if you want to start something, who gives a shit if it's competitive? You're you. Is there another you? No. You are you, and you have your own thoughts. Implement it. Don't waste time. The longer you wait, the more boring the idea is going to get, and then you're going to piss it off, and you're going to come up with another idea, and then you're going to do the same thing. Don't do that. Take it, start it, you lose, who gives a shit? Do it again. Pay the bills. It doesn't matter. You're not going to die, right? You understand? So just get it going. You know, that's my strategy. Yeah. I learned that from my dad, and my dad's really a tough guy. You know, he's really tough. Like, you can tell. He's got a lot of chest hair, you know? Like, he's really hairy. Like, I'm not shitting you guys. My old man would walk you without a shirt. You'd think he's got a sweater on, you know? So I learned that from him, and people like him went through, you know, don't laugh, it's true. And so, yeah, you've got to really take the initiative. Just make that first step. Once you do it, it either goes well or turns to shit. If it turns to shit, just do it again. And you'll learn from your mistakes. If you don't fall down, you'll never get up, right? Yeah.
Right, any more questions?
Do you do anything with Yoku?
Oh, Youku.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the problem with Youku is we signed up a contract with them, right? And then we put videos on there, but the videos, you know, we do have a page on Youku. But Youku is not that big in China anymore because it's too controlled by the government in China now. So they delete a lot of the shows, they censor everything. And as you can tell, my personality is not really PG-13, can you? And so I did want to work with Youku in the past, but we'd only get up to about 100,000 views. That's not enough to generate advertisement, to generate users and whatnot. So we don't really actively use it, but we do still pop things on there, yeah.
Right, and also, like, what's your advice to get the first 1,000 Weibo followers? Is it just posting between 8 o'clock to 11 about the hot trending topics?
You mean the first, say it again?
The first 1,000 Weibo followers.
Yeah.
Is it like, what's your advice to get those? Is it posting hot topics between 8 o'clock and 11, or?
You know what, I'll give you the best advice, man. Trust me. If you want to get up to that, you want to go from 0 to 1,000, right, for example, what you should do is basically make a video and then post it online, right? Yeah, the hot time doesn't matter if you don't have followers, right? My point is, no, you go online and you follow a shit ton of other Weibo bloggers. Then you send your video to every single one of those guys. And one of them, like happened to me from Shenzhen, one of these 8 million follow blogger, he reposted mine. That's where it kicked off. And you got to do that shit every single day. Who's a salesperson here? Anyone? Have you guys done cold calling before? I am the king of cold calling. I could cold call the shit out of Sydney tomorrow. And I'm telling you, you've got to have that mental approach. If you don't, then you can't do it. You know, you just got to just don't give a shit, you know?
Do you recommend us posting funny videos, or that's whatever we feel like?
Whatever it's you, man. Like, if you're funny, then post funny. If you're serious, then post serious, you know? Keep your clothes on, though. That's... I'm being serious, man. Like, yeah.
Great questions. Anyone else?
So maybe following on from that one a bit, how long did it take to get your first 1,000 or so followers?
Can't hear you, mate.
He said, how long did it take to get to the first 1,000 followers? I went through a stage thing. I went from 0 to 5,000, 5,000 to 120,000. I made a video about swearing in China. I swore a lot. I don't swear, obviously, right? I'm not a very nice guy. But I use Inner Mongolian dialect. You know, Inner Mongolia is very cool, right? Because they have very different Chinese. The Mandarin is so newbie. I don't know how to say newbie in English.
Just
Cool.
Yeah,
So I made that video first. So I went from 0 to 5,000. That was really good. That's when I did that thing I told you. And I went and I sent that video to a heap of different bloggers and they reposted that. So I went from 0 to 5,000. Then I made the Come Play With Me video. Yeah, and that went from that to 120,000 overnight. Yeah. But then I want to tell you guys something. You know, a lot of Weibo followers are very dodgy. You can buy fans. Do you know that? You can buy your first 1,000 fans, man. But don't, because people can tell. Because if you have bought fans, your views are going to be very low, and your comments. You can also buy likes and reposts. You can't buy comments. You can't unless AI is already in. Terry, have you bought an AI company yet? No? Soon, probably will. And so yeah. So you got to watch out for that, right? Don't go and be dodgy. You got to be real from the ground up. Otherwise, people won't trust you from day one.
Yeah, and there are lots of ways to thank you. There are lots of ways to recognise what is real and what is not real followers on zombie followers on Weibo. Like they were saying, like likes and shares you can actually buy as well as number of fans. Comments, I think it's a bit harsh.
No, you can't buy comments. You can buy shares and likes, and fans, and there's different quality fans.
Yeah.
You know, they've got different ones. But yeah, you can't buy comments.
And also, another way to check is you click into those fans and see what else has been posted on their own Weibo. Often the zombie fans is an empty or it's very few posts. Then you know that there's something wrong with that particular account. So there are all these ways you can work it out. Terry?
Guy, you're writing a book, mate.
Yeah, I am.
A book. It's about to be published.
Yeah,
why, in terms of your business, have you written a book?
I wrote a book, not about kebabs. It's how to wrap the best kebab. You know, that would be a good book, Terry. I should write that. The book I wrote is about IELTS speaking because the business is based on an IELTS school, right? And so I wrote that book for many reasons. One, in China, if you want to be a reputable boss for an education school, right, you cannot not have a book. You have to have a book, right? Because the book represents who you are. In China, it's a very academic place where parents will say, this guy has a book, I trust him. And that's one of the reasons why I did that, to build more reputation for the company. Because otherwise I'm just a typical Lawai who comes to China and makes some money and then piss off back to Australia. But by writing a book, you're showing that you've got grounds in China. You're helping China's education system, right? And that's going to be published in November by Renmin Press. It's one of China's number 1 or number 2 publishers, and we're doing a whole range of books, about 6 books back to back. I've been writing, it's pretty cool. Thanks, Jared. Good question. Hope you buy my book. Nah, too expensive. Delete. Any other questions, guys?
No?
Yes?
No? Oh, is there? Maybe.
Closer to the mic.
Man with the mic.
Thanks for your insights. That was really interesting and entertaining.
I hope I didn't offend anyone. I have a tendency of doing that.
How come you're coming back to Australia?
My daughter, she's 4. My family and I have been in Inner Mongolia for quite some time. You know, pollution is an issue in China. We all know that. Inner Mongolia's pollution is getting worse because the breeze is coming through Hebei now, which is closer to Inner Mongolia. And my daughter's school, the level of, it's not like Australia, it's not. And it's nothing to do with the people there, it's just the kids' education system there is not very good for kids. It's not bad, don't get me wrong, it's great. But I was brought up here. I'm an Australian. I went to a school where it's different, And if I was in a major city, maybe that would be a great place to send, but then the pollution. I won't be moving here permanently. I'll just be, my wife and daughter and myself, we've got a house here, right? We'll be moving there, and then I will be going probably back and forward to I have no choice. So it's about my daughter, because I love my family, and yeah, you've got to make money, but without family, you're nothing, right? And that is my Turkishness talking. Family is thicker than what? Yeah, yes.
Thank you. So, kind of like 3 questions. First is, how long it took for you to get the first 5,000 followers? How long? And then the second is like, how long you spend on producing the videos right now in 1 week?
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and the third question is like, do you mind tell us the price? If like maybe we want to cooperate with you with the advertisement and your videos in future.
Yeah,
Just
sure.
curious. Yeah.
Okay, so for example, the first question, how long did I go to 5,000 followers? 1 month.
Oh.
Okay, that was like 3 weeks actually around. The second question, what was that again? I have a memory like a goldfish.
How long you spend on producing the videos right now in like 1 week?
Okay, so I would have an idea, then I'd go to my car, because most of my videos are in my car.
It is actually. I was wondering about that.
It is. You want to know why? It's secret. It's because there's nowhere to do it, man. I've got a kid. My daughter runs and grabs my hair and pulls me and screams and shouts, and everywhere I go she wants to follow me, except for my car. Because she has this mentality that I'm going to take her to the doctor, right? Get a needle, and that's my safe place, That's where I do all my thinking, So yeah, sorry, going back to it. So, basically, weekly, come a couple of days prior, come up with an idea, then I'd make the video. A few takes, just like that. The third question about price, depends. If someone's buying a repost space, right, that would cost between, like a repost from another Weibo account. So that, I'm assuming you're based in China, right? That's anywhere between $2,000 and $8,000, okay? That's a repost. And then, then you got the original video. Yes, so Yuan renminbi, Dao Liang renminbi, you understand? Because then they get reposted by our other accounts. It's not only my accounts. Then you got the original video content, which people like Didi, do you guys know Didi? It's the Uber for China. I've got a contract with them for a year. Basically, those guys, something like that would pay almost in dollars. I'm telling you in dollars. Obviously, you want dollars, RMB, or Turkish lira. Whatever, man. I've got the whole currency thing in my head. I forget everything except for the money, Basically, it can vary depending on the length, content, right? But it would go anywhere from, RMB is about 100,000 to $500,000, which is $20,000 to about $100,000. Because that, you would guarantee at least 500,000 views within the next period of time. That people would pay for that. We've done ads where people had, like, Wahaha got 7 million in such a short period of time, And so, yeah, things like that, and articles and texts obviously are cheaper, but it's different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. And we chuck in a kebab for free. I cut it in half. You know what? I'll tell you some funny thing. Kebab shop owners always complain about Asian people buying kebabs, Indians, and always like, it's okay, I'm at work, I can make shit about other races. It's all good. You can't, okay. But Chinese people go to the shops and they always cut the kebabs into 6 pieces. And it always made my dad angry, Yeah, it's funny, it's hilarious. Then you'd have this big Lebanese guy come and order 3 kebabs for himself, that's what we want, But yeah, I'm just trying to lighten the mood.
Any other, maybe last question here?
That's okay, I can shout.
Yeah, just like
I've got a
me.
big voice, okay? So I'd like to know what brands that you absolutely would refuse to work with, or if you have any case studies of brands that have approached you and you said, no, that's just...
Anyone that does animal testing, I won't touch.
Right.
I'm against that. If you do anything on animals, please just piss off. I don't want to touch it at all. I don't care how much you pay. I won't sleep at night. That's not bullshit, really, it's true. It's, another one is cosmetic surgery and weight loss. I won't touch that. I won't do that crap because I don't believe in it. Okay, that's just me, and I get the right to choose what I like and what I don't like. You don't have to like it, but it's my choice. Weight loss stuff, I will never do that because I'm fat, right? It's okay. It's okay. I'm all right with that. You know, I'm well-rounded. I love that crap. But the thing is, I don't want people to lose weight using drugs. I hate that. I'll never promote that on my web because I don't trust it, right? Things like cosmetic surgery, I've had people want to pay up to $1 million RMB just to put an injection photo, you know, the Botox. It's cool, you want to do it, go ahead, but I'm not going to advertise it on my page. Yeah, I won't touch that. Yeah. So animal testing, forget it, right? If you do cosmetics and weight loss stuff, yeah, I won't do that stuff. Yeah. Haven't really been approached by anything else that's bad. Like, obviously I won't touch anything bad, you know, like promote something terrible. I would never do that, yeah. Or government stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
China government stuff. China government. No, I don't do propaganda. No. We've been approached a lot. And they've actually sometimes said you have no choice. I said, piss off. I won't do it, right? I don't believe that crap, man. Brainwashing shit. No, forget it.
Great. On that note. On that note.
We didn't expect that, did we?
Thank you, David, for
You're so welcome, everyone.
for coming around and sharing your stories and you know your humour.
My dad's accent.
And your dad's accent, which I absolutely love. You know, you guys have, you know, we'll have a bit of time for networking afterwards. Definitely come up to David and have a chat with him, and he'll probably respond in his dad's accent. Absolutely, very comprehensible and very funny as well. So great, thank you, David.
Thanks,
and for those of you who wants to listen to more about David, a little plug for the podcast. You know, it's on iTunes. You search for Hutong, Hutong.